Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I am so excited it's Friday. You have no idea. Do you have any plans for the weekend? I don't. I should probably make some. I'll probably be designing all weekend. Hope you're all doing well. And can we take a second to appreciate that amazing animated intro at the beginning before my ugly face popped up? Michael, welcome. Adobe Live Gusbot is in the house. Not in my house, that'd be weird. But he's somewhere in some house, maybe. Audrey, Janesh, Anna, Gareth, welcome everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Brian, who else do we have here? Saber, I've seen you quite often in Slack, which is awesome. I'm probably mispronouncing that, I apologize. Hope you're having a great Friday. Hope you have plans for the weekend. And it is day number 9 of the Daily Creative Adobe XD Challenge. I'm kind of sad. Gusbot apparently is in my house. This is weird. Gabriel, welcome. Good morning. Today's day number 9, and I'm very sad that this is all coming to an end so abruptly. But it's been fun. It's been fun hanging out with you for the last week, and you all hung out with Michael Chaize last week. And I think Michael might actually like today's challenge because we're designing a language learning app, and we're going to be diving into some French today. So let me hop over here for a second. We have the Daily Creative Challenge Behance page, behance.net/Daily Creative Challenge. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Whoop. That made so much of a difference. And right at the top, you can join us on Slack. And if I hop over to Slack right here, we have 8,637 people. We're so close to 9,000. By the next challenge, and yes, there will be more challenges, I want to see 9,000. I want to see over 9,000 people in this chat every single day, chatting away, introducing yourselves, like Ahmed and Zach, who is in here all the time giving feedback. Arslan, Bill, Tobias, people from all over the world. Let me know if you are watching this live, where you are from. Audrey says she can only swear in French. Yeah, I took French when I was growing up in school, and you'll probably hear how bad it is today during this little stream. It's not great, but I know a little bit. And obviously Michael Chaize is very fluent in French. So yeah, join us in Slack. We have a help section if you need. I gotta probably go through and answer some of these questions this morning. If you need some help, so we have product managers, we have designers, and lots of people in here jumping in. I think actually Saber or Sabir, who's in, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, I think he's jumped in there and answered some questions for some people. So even the community members are joining in. We have feedback, so if you're taking part in these amazing challenges and you want some designers or just the community members to jump in and give you feedback, this is where you leave it. And all the fun announcements like the streams will be in the announcements section. Florida. My wife and daughter are in Florida right now, and I hear it's raining. It's always raining in Florida, isn't it? Illinois, awesome. India, cool. And as Lee mentioned in this announcement, the latest announcement, this stream usually is about half an hour, but we're gonna push it just a little bit today. So we're gonna review some designs that have kind of flown in over the last 2 weeks. And as you can see in the tabs at the top, I have a bunch saved. And I think I saw Emma pop up in the chat. Yep, there she is. I think I have one of your designs. And I think I might have a few of other ones. I can't get to everybody's because there were some incredible ones. A lot of designs flew in. And I'm excited to get to them. So today's challenge, if we scroll all the way down here, we have a language learning app. Prototype a mobile app to learn a new language. The first screen invites the user to translate a sentence. The second screen asks them to read a sentence using the microphone and rates their pronunciation. So we're gonna dive into some voice triggers and speech playback in this stream. And I'm really excited to see what you all come up with. And there'll be a little bit of auto animate as well. And speaking of auto animate, we did release this week an auto animate Uikit on Behance. If you search auto animate Uikit, we have a lot of people who have been downloading, commenting, and using this over the last few days. And there's a bunch of different elements in here to really get you started with auto animate. And at the bottom, we have a video that I put together if you want to learn how to use auto animate. So with that being said, make sure I'm on my screen. I am. Let me hop over to Adobe XD and we are going to get started. Usually at the beginning, I like to look through some previous designs, but we're going to save that to the end because there's a lot going on with this design today. So, and thank you, Michael's going to take a look for that Uikit link for all of you fancy people in the chat this morning. So again, the challenge today is to design and prototype a mobile app to learn a new language. And we have a very basic template right here at the bottom. We also have a little bit of inspiration from Duolingo, which I've tried to use in the past. Not very good. I want to learn Japanese because my wife and I really want to go to Japan one day. And I think we have do we have an office in Japan? I think we have something going on in Japan. So I want to visit there and be able to communicate properly. Spanish is also a good one, but I failed at everything. So maybe I'll get back to it one day. So there's some inspiration. There's also suggested color schemes. And again, like I mentioned in previous streams, if you really gravitate towards one of these color schemes, let's say this one here, you can just simply select all of these colors, hold down your shift key, click on the ones that you want, go over to your assets panel. By the way, the shortcut is Command or Control, Shift and Y to get to your assets panel. And you can press the plus button beside colors and it'll automatically add those colors in. And then if you have multiple, let's say this one we have over here and over here and over here and over here, and you want to change that specific color throughout your entire document, you can simply right click on the color in the assets panel, press edit, and then make that change. And you're noticing it's changing everywhere, which is pretty fancy. So you don't have to worry about going to every single artboard and every single instance of that color. You just do it. And it works for character styles and symbols as well. So without further ado, let's dive in. So I'm going to duplicate this artboard down the document. And basically, there's going to be a title at the top, and we're going to use this title to identify the language. So in this case, it's going to be French. And this is basically the progress bar at the top, and this will move as we progress throughout this app or throughout our language learning. This line here is going to be where the different words that we need to translate are going to appear. This is the background. Obviously, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger actually, just so it lines up with the button at the bottom. Make this line a little bit bigger, and if you want to extend it from the middle, you're noticing as I'm pulling this, it's actually extending from the center. I'm holding down my Option key on the Mac or Alt key on Windows. And then down here we have, it's actually a repeat grid, which I'm going to break for now because we want to be able, in the next artboards, be able to move these up and have some auto animate. And Janesh says I should visit India. I would love to visit India. I would love to visit everywhere. I haven't been very many places. I went to London and Paris, and that's pretty much the extent of it. So, and then we have a button down at the bottom, which will allow us to check our progress. So I'm going to name this check. Pretty simple. Maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger as well. Just like that. So, very basic stuff, right? But let's make this a little bit prettier. So in the background, because I'm all about gradients, I'm going to drag out a rectangle. And I'm going to add a gradient. I'm going to hop over to my Layers panel, Command or Control Y, and just drag this down to the bottom. And then over in my Finder, I have a beautiful gradient, which I believe I actually found this pack of gradients on Behance. If you just search gradients, one of them is on there. So I have this cool gradient in the background, and I want to use some of these oranges throughout my design. So at the top here, we're going to actually type in some words. Let's start with translate this sentence. Helps if I spell properly. And I'm gonna, Helvetica New is fine. Let's go for a bold. And for the color, I'm gonna use my color picker and use, let's say, this orange. That's maybe a little bit darker. Let's go for this orange here. All right, I'm gonna add this to my colors. I can actually right click and add colors to assets so I can use that at a later point and make sure this is positioned here. Now for the sentence, I'm gonna duplicate this downwards, hold down Command, Alt or Option, and just drag it down. And because I'm not comfortable with the spelling, I'm just going to paste this in there. So this is what we're going to be translating, which I believe means in English, do you speak English? And it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out, because once we get to the voice section of this, even though Adobe XD isn't technically working or built for additional languages yet. That is in the works. It still recognizes something, so we'll see what happens. Now, down here, we want to basically add a few of the words that are correct and maybe one or two that are not correct. So I'm going to grab my text tool again, and let's say this one will say speak. I'm going to make this a bit smaller and position this here. Now, what I probably should have done, I probably should have kept that repeat grid so I could have, you know what? I'm actually going to grab this repeat grid. I'm going to redo this. And this is the power of repeat grids. I'm going to paste this in here. So it's a repeat grid right now. And what that'll allow us to do is basically change these things all together at once. So if I wanted to, let's say, change the styling of these buttons, I can just change one of them and all of them will change. So before, when I ungroup that repeat grid, which I'll do shortly, I would have had to make those changes on every single one, but now I don't have to. I'm going to set the fill to a light gray with a little bit of a border, not too harsh, and then a very slight drop shadow. Very, very slight. I don't want it to be too crazy. And good morning, Dagny. Welcome. Decrease the opacity. Very slight. Maybe a 1. Maybe 1. Okay, that'll do for now. We can always change it later. So let's go ahead and type one more time. Let's go for speak. Make sure this is inside of the repeat grid. There we go. And the cool thing about text within a repeat grid is that you can override your text. Let me make sure this is positioned in the center. So this one, let's say, we'll say man, you, let's say turkey, why not? And then do, and English. Perfect. So we have our words down at the bottom. We have our line, which is where the words are going to go. We have the phrase that we need to translate. Let's actually make this our lovely orange. And this one in the background will also make orange, but slightly darker, so it kind of blends in. And then turn down the opacity. That'll do. It's not perfect, but it will do. And then this guy, we'll actually make this button white, but turn down the opacity because at this point, there are no words up there, so it kind of has to be a little bit grayed out. All right, so here is our first artboard. And now basically what we want users to be able to click on these buttons, and it will basically throw them up here in the order that they're clicked on. And then we'll be able to check to see if it's accurate or not. So because the repeat grid will give us a little bit of problems when auto animating, we're going to actually ungroup it at this point. Now that all the text is in place, now that the styling is more or less, looking okay, I guess, we're going to ungroup it. And everything is grouped in little groups over here in the layers panel. I could probably name them. Let's go name this one English. This is do, turkey, you, man, speak. That sounded really funny. And it's very important that when you are planning to auto animate layers throughout different artboards, that everything is named and layered properly. Otherwise, you're going to get some weird issues going on. So with that done, we have our first artboard created. We're going to duplicate this over to the right. And our first word is do. So we're going to pop that up there. Duplicate this one. Do, you, speak, and then English. Great. Now it's not completely lined up. So I'm actually going to drag all these groups over, and they will snap into place. I'll leave it like that for now, because then I won't have to go back and do it all. And to save time, we will not do that. So now that all these are in place, basically on these artboards, we want to be able to check. Now that one item is up there, we're going to take the opacity of this layer up to 100% and change the color of the button or the text to orange. And if we select this button, we can actually go to each artboard and just replace it, just like that. Great. So now that this is ready to go, we need to actually have some auto animate. So we're gonna hop into prototype mode, and we're going to select the first item, which is do, drag this over to the second artboard. It's gonna be a tap trigger, and we wanna change the action to auto animate. Let's go for a snap, which is one of my favorite auto animate easing options. And we'll have it, let's stick with 0.4. Let's see how that looks. Sometimes you have to play around with it. Move this over here and do. Okay, let's see what 0.2 looks like. I think that's better. It's not too slow, it's nice and snappy. And when I drag the second one, this will be U, it contains all those properties. So everything that I set in the last trigger options and actions and things like that, they'll all be there. Do you speak English? Great. Now, if I play this back, I can click do you speak English? And you'll notice that when I press on the first one, the check button at the bottom also highlighted. Exactly what we want. And now, what's gonna happen when we do press check? Well, we're gonna duplicate this over, hop back into design mode, and let's say these buttons maybe will change color. And maybe this will change to white. So basically tell us that everything is correct. My mouse is jumping around like crazy this morning. And Anel mentioned that she is a little bit behind on the challenges, and that's the cool thing about these challenges is that you can go back and do them anytime you want. There's no deadline. It's really there for for you to build your portfolio and really build up your skills a little bit. There we go. So that'll be correct, and then this might change to correct. If I go into prototype mode, when the check button is pressed, it'll go to this screen. It'll be a tap trigger. We don't need auto animate because nothing's really animating in this case. It'll be a simple transition with no animation. And when we press check, it says correct. And we can even have some speech playback. So the way speech playback works is you need to click on an entire artboard and then click on this little guy over here to the right, and you want to choose a time trigger. So basically, immediately after this artboard loads, we're going to have a delay set to 0, and it's going to say, correct, nice job. So now if I press, hopefully the audio works, if I press check, hopefully you all heard that, but it did say correct, nice job, which is great. So now that this section is done, basically the translating part, we want to tackle what it's going to be like if we're actually reading out a word. So I'm going to just duplicate this artboard down. Whoops. I'm going to duplicate this down. I'm going to delete all of this stuff because we don't need this right now. And we're going to change this to read this phrase out loud. All right, I'm gonna delete this line and I'm gonna grab this little element that was provided in our template and move this over here. Let's say for the background of this, we will use our beautiful orange. Change this to a white. There we go. And here's where things get a little bit interesting. We'll see how things work. And let's actually write listening. All right, so that's going to be for the first screen. And the second screen is going to be basically if it's correct or not. So again, we will change the background of this to 100%. This will be our lovely orange. And I probably should be using our assets panel, but saving time. This I can probably get rid of. All right, so how do we actually wire this up for voice? So we're gonna go to the prototype section. And the cool thing about the voice trigger is it can be used on any layer you want. It can be used on text layers, symbols, whatever it might be. So just for the sake of this argument, I'm going to grab this symbol or this ellipse in the background, drag it over to the right, and it's going to be a voice trigger in this case. So I want to actually type out this phrase, and this is the phrase that XD is going to be looking for. And again, I want to stress that XD has not yet been built for additional languages other than English. It is being worked on. So if you are working with, French or Spanish or whatever it might be, there may be some times when it doesn't really detect some of the languages, but it does typically do a pretty good job. And in this case, the action, there's nothing really to animate at this point, so I'm just going to have a transition, no animation, and then on this artboard, I want some speech playback, if I did get it correct. So it's going to be a time trigger, 0 seconds, speech playback, and all right, that is, I'm actually curious to see how the voice assistant pronounces that. Michael Chaize is in the chat. He's probably going to judge this very hard. So here we go. When you press play, now that the voice trigger is set up, you see this bar at the bottom, and it basically tells you to hold down your space bar while speaking to use voice commands. Let's try this out. Parlez-vous? No, I messed that up already. But you're noticing it did detect enough of it that it actually made it detected that it was correct. Let's try that one more time. Parlez-vous anglais? There we go. So, voice control in Adobe XD, the only design application that does that right now. My French is not great, but it worked. It detected that that's what I said, and you can have multiple. So if you wanted to do something incorrect, let's say, now there's no way to have like an incorrect state, but let's say if I wanted to go here, this should be, actually, this is correct. And let's say this would be incorrect. Let me change the background to a bright red so it's screaming at us. So this will be incorrect. So let's say I grab one of these other layers. Again, doesn't matter which layer. Drag this over here. This will be a voice. And let's say, Michael's going to judge me again because I don't know exactly how to spell this, but Je m'appelle Howard, which basically I believe it means my name is Howard. Didn't spell that correctly. And it'll transition over here. So if I say the wrong thing, if I press play, Je m'appelle Howard. Nope, might not detect what I just said. Oh, you know what? I forgot to accept it. Oh, okay, Michael typed it in properly. Let me write that in. There we go. I was close. There we go. Okay. Perfect. So now, yep, it's in there. Let's press play. Je m'appelle Howard. Je m'appelle Howard. Oh, there you go. Oh, I didn't change the voice, the speech playback. But you can kind of see that different languages aren't perfect, but it still does detect it if you try it a few times. So that is incorrect. And I can change this to maybe incorrect, try again. And this would actually link back to this screen where I can try it again. It'll be a tap, no transition. All right, here we go. One more time. Je m'appelle Howard. Her pronunciation's worse than mine. So I can click on incorrect, try again. Parlez-vous anglais? Aha, we did it. So that's voice in Adobe XD. Really cool stuff, voice triggered, speech playback. And then at the top here, we went through and had some little auto animate to translate the sentence. Do you speak English? Correct, or check. And that's correct. Cool stuff. So I'm excited to see what all of you come up with. There's a lot you can do with speech, voice triggers, that sort of thing. But now that this is all out of the way, and hopefully you're all getting ready and eager to design, we're gonna hop back over to my browser, and we're gonna look at a bunch of different projects that came in over the last 2 weeks. Again, I wasn't able to choose everybody because there are, I mean, just look at Behance, right? XD Daily Challenge, the tag you use when you're uploading your projects on Behance, and you can just scroll through, and there are so many of these things. They just go on forever. And these are all part of, I sorted this by most recent, these are all part of the last 2 weeks. It's crazy, it just keeps going. So it was very difficult to find so many amazing designs to look over. But here we go. So Stefan, this was the ebook reader, and these are in no particular order, just ones that I kind of came across and opened in new tabs. So I really love the simplicity of this one. William Shakespeare is obviously fantastic, and I love that Stefan kind of put, and you'll see it a little bit further down as well, a little tiny page curl. It doesn't auto animate, like I forget who, I think it was Michael Chaize auto animated one. But really simple stuff, and there is a video. And before I play this, I will note that at this moment in time, auto animate doesn't work on the web. It is being worked on, but at this point in time, it does not. So what a lot of people are doing, they're exporting videos directly from XD. If you're on the Mac or if you're on Windows, you can use the, I think it's Game Recorder, Windows G shortcut to record your videos and then put them on Behance. So that's a workaround for now. So that book is clicked on, and you can also see the little page curl switch between night and day mode. And I love that auto animate was used to make the text bigger or smaller. Really nice stuff. I'm not sure if Stefan is in here, but great work. So that is that one. And this one is from Elio. This is day 2. This is for the, I believe it was the response, make it responsive. So what we did on that day is we actually had, on the first day, you created an event web page, and then on the second day, you made it responsive so it fits on tablets and mobile apps. And this was Elio's work. And I love the look of this page. It's great imagery in the background. Buttons very easy to see and click on. There's an about section, and I kind of like how there's this iPad here, and then the page just kind of keeps flowing from that iPad. It's really nice. And there's a little video. Oh, did you see that? Let me put this in a new window. There's a little Elio used the fixed position when scrolling option to have like a little bit of a fixed element in the background so you can scroll the information from the bottom over top of that image. Really nice. Little auto animate stuff going on, checking the availability. Oh, you saw that too? There's like a little number counter action. Really nice stuff. Great work. All right, next up we have Selvam. This was daily challenge number 7, which was the photo editing app. Let me pop this video open. And first off, I really like the way this is kind of laid out, this photo album, which was also challenge number 3. So you could have combined challenge number 3 with also challenge number 7 and 8. So we kind of, weave some things together to make it interesting. But this is really cool. I like the way this looks. And it auto animates. There was that was actually a little wind up effect, I believe, where it kind of goes inwards and then out. Filters pop up from the bottom. It's very Instagram-esque, which some people like, some people are not a big fan of. That looks great. Great job. All right, next we have Nina, who also took part in day number 7, the photo editing app. And this is really cool. It almost looks like a little Polaroid. You know, the photos coming out from the bottom of your phone. And she, I would believe in Photoshop, she, you know, distorted these a little bit so it looks like they're kind of coming out. Really cool. Great imagery. Very simple, very minimalistic app design. Filters at the bottom. Bunch of presets. And I think there is a video. This looks, oh, it's a GIF. Okay. All right. There's the filters, pop up from the bottom. Black and white. Slide it over. Really nice. Blue filter. Looks good. Great job, Nina. All right, moving on. We have Kate, who took part. This was day number 1. So again, this was the event webpage. And right off the bat, again, great imagery. There we go. The button at the bottom to register. That expands. The auto animate expanded that button so they can choose how many tickets. Let's see that one more time. 3 tickets. Register. You can choose all your fun stuff. And I love when people use actual products like iMacs or laptops, tablets, phones, whatever it might be, to kind of embed their projects inside, because it really shows what it's going to look like in the real world. And I thought this looked really nice. Great job, Kate. Next up we have, this is Carrie, sorry. Incoming responsiveness. So this was for day 2, using the web page that she created on day 1. So first off, the actual landing page looks great. I love this little divider right here where it kind of separates the colors, and it makes the actual text at the top a little bit easier to read, because if this text was on this background over here to the left, it would be a little bit more difficult. So this is really nice up at the top. The register button is easy enough to read. And we have some information about this place at the bottom. When, where, and what. And a bunch of lorem ipsum, which is great. And there is, actually, I think I showed it yesterday. There's a nice lorem ipsum plugin that's very easy to use in Adobe XD. And then you're noticing that it's now getting a little bit smaller. And you know, maybe I was wrong. Maybe the text is sort of easy to read on that background. But it's possible that, you know, if that was a little bit whiter, it would be a little bit more difficult. So here's what it looks like at probably a tablet in vertical orientation. And then we have what it would look like on a phone. So basically all of those boxes kind of moved underneath each other so that they're not horizontal and taking up too much room. And with responsive resize in Adobe XD, we make it very simple. And it won't accomplish everything that you want, but for elements like, let me go back. For elements like the navigation bar, and even for things over here, it'll move all that stuff really nicely across the page. Now for things like these boxes, you will likely have to move them underneath each other, but it will actually make them a little bit smaller so they'll fit nicely. Great stuff. Thank you, Carrie. Next up, Gladstone, who's also a regular in Slack and Behance Live. This is for challenge number 7 again. I think the mobile app one was a really popular one. I've seen a lot of entries for that. And there's a video. Let's see. Oh, I love the way these images kind of cascade on top of each other. And you can just slide them right using a drag trigger to slide them to the right. There's some filters at the bottom. That looks really nice. Very simple. And it's very Instagram-esque again. All the filters are named. You can share it. Little pop-up from the bottom. My HomePod is talking to me. Voice assistants are taking over. Yeah, this looks really nice. Again, I love the way these cards kind of fit on top of each other. And the filters look great. Great stuff, Gladstone. All right, next we have Ravinder. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. This is, I believe, challenge number 1. So this was for creating a landing page. The colors just really like pop. The gradients might be slightly overdone, but I love I love that the button gradient kind of pulled in the colors from the logo, the Dance Night logo. Maybe slightly overdone, but still really nice. And there is a video. Here we go. And see, on this button here, if I pause it for a second, this button, it works. But when the gradient's across the entire button, slightly overdone, I think. All right, scroll down. There's a gallery. There's a map at the bottom. Buy tickets. And I thought this was really cool. He's using a number counter, which, by the way, I have something on Dribbble. If you want to go to Dribbble, I did release a number counter XD file, so you can kind of see how something like this can be done. And he combined that with a drag effect to actually add tickets, which was really nice. Little pop-up at the bottom saying thank you. That looked really good. I love that. I love when little elements, and that's really the beauty of micro interactions and auto animate, is you can do things, very simple things, like this number counter, and it just adds a really nice effect and flair to some of your work. Oh, there's Gladstone. Hey, you're welcome. All right, good job. We have Louise. This was challenge number 8. This was an onboarding experience, which was in response to the photo editing mobile app. And where did it go? Here we go. Again, I really like how, when people use real world images and embed their designs in it. It really shows us what it's going to look like. Here's a little onboarding, these cards, and I kind of like how the image kind of continues in the background, and inside of the card, it's 100% opacity, and in the background, it's probably, 20 or 30%. All right, let's see what this video looks like. And do you see how he used the drag effect, he or she used the drag effect and the masks animate as well. And that's a cool thing you can do with drag effects, is you can also animate masks. Little wheel at the bottom. All right. Some auto animate to accept the changes. More drag triggers to share. That looks great. So there's definitely some really cool elements in this work, and I really like the drag effect on these cards and how the image kind of continues in the background. Good stuff, Louise. All right, next one we have Binu. This was, I believe, for challenge number 1 for Halloween, one of my favorite holidays. And I loved when this restarts. I loved how the pumpkin kind of slid over to the right and all that information slid over to, or the pumpkin slid to the left, information slid over to the right. I thought that was kind of cool. It's a nice little touch. I love it. And just this page, it just looks, it's dark, but it kind of works for Halloween. It's very simple. There's not a lot going on. The only thing I would say is the blue. I'm not sure I'm loving the blue here. It kind of takes away from the Halloween vibe. But at the same time, for buttons, blue is a very common color because it gets people clicking. So, I would try orange. I would try something kind of in that spectrum, but it's a very nitpicky thing. Map looks great. There's a very subtle drop shadow in the background. It's not too harsh. Looks really good. Nice stuff, Binu. Next, we have Ellie Bowen. This was for also day number 1. Very purple and pink. The blue button probably isn't working. I would probably go maybe a white button. If you want to add a little bit of blue, the text could be blue, but the button it's throwing me off a little bit. But I do like the purple and the pink button on the purple and pink background, whatever color this is. It's a very simple landing page. Again, I would kind of move away from that blue, but other than that, looks really nice. And yep, there was a video. Let's see. So you're noticing that auto animate is being used basically kind of like an anchor point. And you can definitely do that if you're designing longer web pages and you have buttons that you want to be able to go down to another section on the page. You can have two artboards, and the second artboard, all that information is moved up, and the button can be basically used with auto animate to create that anchor point, basically. And Ellie did that in this example. Awesome. Oh, there's a ticket. Here we go. Okay. Nice. Love it. Good job. And this one is for day number 3. This was a photo browser, which again you can use in conjunction with day number 7 and day number 8. And right at the top we have a GIF showing the navigation throughout this photo album. Looks good. And these little elements to show like the progression. Tap on this leads you to this. It's kind of neat. It's a nice way of displaying your layouts. Chris is yelling at me to check my Behance notifications. I know, I keep doing that, but they keep piling up overnight. That looked really nice. All right, Emma, who's also in the chat. She's one of our regulars. And the thing that really caught my eye for this one is this interesting like drawn iPhone template, because a lot of times we see very professional looking ones, and this kind of gives it like a fun flavor. It's kind of neat. And then combine that with the very minimalistic feel of the app. It's a neat way of displaying an app. And we have a video. And who doesn't love a horse mask? There's the brightness slider. There's Emma. And I love how these small elements kind of are able to be hidden on the side when editing takes place, because then it really allows you to see the entire image and what exactly the filter is doing. That looks great. And then Emma, I guess, has some more from previous examples, previous challenges down at the bottom. And now we have one more that we're going to take a look at. This is from James. It's the Rider Taxi Booking app. Love the way this is displayed at the top. Allows us to kind of see multiple screens at once. Doesn't take up too much real estate. He's got some information on the user flow. James really went in depth on this one. The colors are mostly working. They're very vibrant, which some people like, some people are not a big fan of. I'm okay with it. They're not too harsh. He has all the different screens laid out here. And then we have a little video. Oh, I love that little animation at the beginning. Let's see that one more time. Woo! That was great. Okay. Oh, he canceled the ride. His little animations are really cool. Trip complete. You can rate. Sammy was a great driver, apparently. $5 tip. Really nice. Good stuff. All right. Thank you, James. So that's going to wrap it up. Definitely use the hashtag XD Daily Challenge. We're still going to be taking a look at a bunch of this stuff. And maybe on Monday, I'll be back on Monday for an hour-long stream where I'm going to be designing something. I don't know what I'm going to be designing yet, but something. Maybe if you have suggestions, let me know on Twitter, at Pinsky, and maybe I'll take some of those suggestions. But make sure to use that XD Daily Challenge tag, because we're still going to be looking at a lot of this stuff, because we love seeing what you all create. And if you're looking for more challenges, we will have more challenges. Won't be next week, but more challenges are coming. So definitely stay tuned for that. Make sure to follow us on all the places: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, maybe soon, possibly, we'll see. And that'll do it. Thanks so much for hanging out. We have Anel, Anna, Tamana, Michael Chaize, Chris, Cannon, A lot of awesome people have been hanging out, designing. Make sure to join our Slack. We're not closing it down while we're on challenge break, but we'll be in there, we'll be chatting, looking at designs, helping out when we can. And we want to hit that 9,000 mark by maybe next week or the week after. So thanks so much everyone for hanging out over the last 2 weeks. Thanks for submitting your designs. I've had a great time hosting this week, looking at all of your stuff, and this has been fun. Hopefully we'll do it again very soon. See y'all later. Take care.